Atlanta, Georgia, 1996. The world has descended on this city for the 26th Summer Olympiad. Every night during the games, 60,000 people congregate in Centennial Olympic Park for a massive party. The enormous space is closely monitored by the tightest security in the world. If only it were enough. July 27th, 1:20 a.m. For the revelers gathered tonight in the spirit of camaraderie and celebration, the party's over. An explosion rips through the crowd, killing and injuring innocent people. In the days to come, its creator will strike again.
The number of bombs, the size of the bombs, the viciousness, it turned the country on its ear.
We're looking for the #1 fugitive in the United States.
All levels of law enforcement, including the top forensic investigators in the country, are brought to bear against a campaign of terror.
Our goal was stop the killing by catching the killer.
If cops can't get a vengeful bomber in their sights, they may end up in his.
My thought was, this person is hunting us.
We were doing battle with somebody without knowing the true face of the enemy.
A bomb has just gone off during Olympic celebrations in Atlanta. Along with hundreds of partiers, Georgia Bureau of Investigation agent Tom Davis is engulfed in its fury.
It's a wave of heat and air at the same time is the best way that I can describe it, coupled with a loud explosion. It forced me to the ground. I mean, it was kind of like everything was going on in slow motion. I immediately contacted the command post and told them that we had had an explosion in the park.
Georgia Bureau of Investigation Supervisor Charles Stone arrives on the scene.
Nobody had a real good idea of what had happened other than it had been a bomb.
We didn't have time to really think a whole lot about what was going on. We just had to react and try to get medical personnel on scene. There were people laying everywhere, screaming, hollering, in severe pain.
The blast kills schoolteacher Alice Hawthorne. Melly Uzignol, a cameraman who ran to the scene following the explosion, dies of a heart attack. Over 100 others are injured. The critical among them are rushed to hospital. In the aftermath, investigators cordon off a large crime scene. They start combing through the huge mass of debris to determine the blast pattern and composition of the bomb. ATF Special Agent Jack Killoran is contacted to join the hunt.
Bomb investigations are classic forensic investigations. It's gathering bits and pieces of evidence and analyzing them, identifying them, tying them together. When the bomb goes off, evidence is scattered over a wide area. It's blown into small pieces. But the evidence isn't destroyed. The hard part is when it's blown to smithereens. But we're very good at smithereens.
Stone also recruits his #1 bomb expert, Agent Chris Dorsey.
When we arrived on the scene the night of the bombing, I glanced down and saw some very odd nails And as I was making my approach to Centennial Park, I kept coming across these nails.
The nails are strewn the length and breadth of the park, even recovered 5 stories up in a building across the street. They are also embedded in the statue, where Alice Hawthorne had been posing for a photograph. It is apparent someone packed nails in the bomb to act as deadly projectiles. Medical personnel work overtime, removing them from the injured. A shaken city and stunned nation awake to news of the carnage, and the alarm goes all the way to the top.
Later on that morning, the president declared an act of domestic terrorism.
We will spare no effort to find out who was responsible for this murderous act. We will track them down. We will see that they are punished.
But through the horror and tragedy, a remarkable man emerges.
How does it feel to be a hero?
I'm not a hero. I was just doing my job that day.
While making his rounds at the party, the sharp eye of security guard Richard Jewell noticed something that caused him concern.
Richard Jewell found an unattended backpack.
But the pack didn't remain unattended for long.
Somebody saw it and thought it would be worth stealing.
Jewell's suspicions became aroused.
Excuse me, sir, is that your pack? All right, just keep moving along, man.
He started asking around and nobody claimed it. Richard brought it to the attention of my counterpart, the supervisor of the ID teams inside the park, GBI agent Tom Davis.
We have a suspicious bag unattended.
Well, I called the bomb diagnostic team. They were clear on the other side of the park and trying to navigate through all of the people that were there. It took them a while to get to us. But when they got there, they went up to it, got down on their knees, and they gently opened up one end of the bag.
Jewell's instincts were dead on. This one backpack in the middle of thousands of people did, in fact, contain a bomb.
Please just have you move a little bit back here.
I notified several state troopers that were in the area. They came over to help with the evacuation, and I had several GBI agents come, and they were also assisting with the evacuation.
This effort led many to safety. But it had barely begun before the bomb detonated. Now the world wants to know who did this and why. A major task force is set up to find out.
The initial structure of the bomb task force, of course, was ATF, FBI, and GBI. We started interviewing people.
Thanks for coming in today, ma'am. Where were you when the explosion happened?
I was listening to the band.
I sat down to rest. 5 minutes later, police told us to go.
I grabbed a couple of beers for me and my buddy.
One minute I was standing there, the next.
I looked down and my leg was
You got to consider, we had a park that had 60,000 people in it, and we had probably tens of thousands of interviews that were conducted.
I got nothing.
No eyewitness accounts provide any solid clues, nor does an extensive review of on-site video surveillance. The bomb debris is taken to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
The ATF lab was tremendous in reconstructing these devices because you've got to consider they're just working with fragmentary evidence.
This evidence is closely analyzed by forensic expert Lloyd Irwin. He is eventually able to determine the bomb's composition.
It was in a backpack. It had a metal plate in the back of it. It had 3 pipe bombs in it. It had a timer, a Big Ben clock.
It contained around 3 pounds of smokeless gunpowder, put in steel pipes with end caps with nails to act as shrapnel.
Irwin now constructs a replica of the horrific device.
The bomb in Centennial Park weighed in excess of 40 pounds. It was the largest documented pipe bomb in U.S. history.
Recreating the bomb gives police a chilling look into the mind of the bomber.
When an individual places metal of any type in a bomb, that individual's doing it for one purpose, and that's to indiscriminately kill and injure as many people as possible.
The bomber had mounted the explosive device to a steel plate, its purpose being to direct the nails straight into the crowd. But that's not what happened. The backpack's position was altered when Richard Jewell scared off its would-be thief.
It fell on its back, and so the plate was on the ground.
As a result, the bulk of the blast was directed up and away, rather than at the revelers. It's a further testament to how many lives Jewell saved. Having learned much about the bomb, police are hungry to find a suspect. The one that surfaces will shock the world. One of the worst acts of domestic terrorism in U.S. history has left 2 dead and dozens injured. Authorities pore over every minute fragment of bomb debris in hopes of finding clues to who might be responsible.
Bits of wire that we can trace down. Who made this wire? Bits of a steel plate. What kind of steel is that? Is it a unique steel? There appear to be rubberized containers. Were they kitchen made? Were they rubber made? Were they Tupperware? We had nails. What kind of nails are they?
Unfortunately, it appears that all the materials used in the device are commonly available. The fragments are then scoured for DNA, hair samples, and fingerprints. But none are recovered. Then, an astonishing clue emerges.
We learned that there had been a call to the 911 center in Atlanta.
There's a bomb going off in Centennial Park in 20 minutes.
Law enforcement in the park never knew that there was a bomb threat call until after the bomb had exploded.
The fact that the bomb had been discovered and called in started speculation that whoever planted it wanted it found before it went off. Someone who aspired to be a hero.
Anybody on this pack?
It comes to light that while the evacuation was in progress, after the device was found, Richard Jewell disappeared. Perhaps to find a phone booth.
The main reason he became a suspect was in the Los Angeles Olympics. There was a bomb tech that worked for the Los Angeles Police Department that allegedly found the bomb, rendered it safe, and became a hero for a short period of time. Then it was determined he, in fact, himself had planted the device.
Investigators now take a closer look at the man who saved the day.
Then all of a sudden,
It turns out Jewell has previously been in trouble with the law.
I did what I was trained to do. I spotted the bag, I called it in.
Hell of a coincidence, isn't it, Richard?
We're looking for anything that could tie him to the device.
Authorities build their case over 3 months. Media and the government urge a swift conviction. But Jewell's defense team insists on a lie detector test.
Do you wish to do harm to the federal government by killing American citizens?
Absolutely not.
Do you have experience making bombs?
No.
Have you recently constructed a bomb?
No.
He passes with flying colors. Over the next weeks, the case against Jewell crumbles.
I didn't see anything that made me even think that he was remotely associated with this device.
The security guard is a hero after all.
I'm just glad this is over. This is a new day. I'm not the Olympic Park bomber.
The investigation goes cold. Then, on January 16th, 1997, almost 6 months after the Olympic Park bombing, things heat up again.
I was in a meeting at our task force headquarters, and I got notified that there'd been a bombing in an abortion clinic in Atlanta.
The name of the clinic is Sandy Springs.
We got the call to come help with the investigation of a bombing.
Miraculously, no one is hurt in the blast. Emergency personnel arrive and clear the scene, while experts search for forensic evidence.
We had a crater about 20 inches across, and it was about a foot deep. It went plumb through the concrete into the dirt, and most of the force went inside the abortion clinic and just literally tore it to bits. I mean, everything was just tore up in there.
What the first responders don't know is more terror is in store. A second bomb and a second miracle.
Some personnel got injured, but nobody got killed.
The two bombs at the clinic shared similarities.
They were both in ammunition boxes, green military ammunition boxes.
But only the second device contained nails. The implications are sobering.
Second bomb is always aimed at the police. Fire, police, the public safety responders. My thought at the time was, this person is hunting us.
The task force gets busy analyzing the fragments, wire, timers, containers, and the nails. The shadow of the Olympic bomb haunts their work.
That's the discussion that's had that night between myself and the heads of the other agencies. Do we have a copycat? Do we have a related person?
The evidence suggests otherwise. Both Sandy Springs bombs used dynamite, while the Olympic bomb was detonated with explosive powder. Construction of the timers was different, and the Sandy Springs devices were housed in ammunition boxes, not metal pipes. The question of motivation also surfaces.
There's nothing motive-wise at this time that ties the bomb at Centennial Park to a bombing in an abortion clinic. We don't want to make an assumption. We're not stupid. We're aware that we might ultimately develop a connection, but we don't want to make a mistake and not deploy enough resources if we have two different devices.
Then, as Irwin continues to study the bomb debris, a potential piece of evidence emerges.
Here's a piece of 1/8-inch steel plate metal of the same type size that was found in Centennial Park.
Investigators wonder, could the two pieces be linked? No sooner has the question been posed when Atlanta is rocked again. This time, it's a popular gay bar, the Other Side Lounge.
Looks like we got hit again.
If it's the same bomber who hit Sandy Springs, a second device could go off at any time. And the clock is ticking. Atlanta, Georgia, has been shattered by 3 bombings in 7 months. At the Olympics, an abortion clinic, and now a gay bar. No one is killed in this explosion, though 5 people are badly injured. Outside the club, police see what they believe is a second device.
The bomb task force was notified. The bomb techs got there.
If it is a bomb, it's certainly targeted at emergency responders, just like at Sandy Springs. Fearing it could explode at any second, investigators stay well back and send in the cavalry.
The decision was made to try to move the backpack with a robot. robot grabbed it, dragged it out so they could get a better view of it. We were looking at it through a video camera mounted on the robot, and you couldn't tell a whole lot about it.
Now they set out to neutralize any explosive the backpack may contain by shooting it with a high-powered blast of water. If successful, the force of the water will sever the connection between the bomb and any ignition devices attached to it. If not, the same force could detonate it.
Hit it! Ripped the pack open, you could see some boxes and wires and stuff, and you couldn't really tell exactly what was in it.
I'm not happy with the degree of disruption or our visibility.
So the decision was made to shoot it again.
Authorities hope they'll be second time lucky.
Fire it!
But they aren't.
I just remember the concussion and seeing the sparks of the shrapnel hitting the ground.
At least no one is hurt, despite the bomber's intentions.
I really believe that the second device was aimed at bomb technicians.
At the lab, investigators try to link the debris forensically to the twin explosions at Sandy Springs. The nails tell the story. Stone learns that in the manufacture of nails, the tool that cuts them from the steel is replaced every 8 hours. This means that each production batch of roughly 60,000 nails is as distinct as a fingerprint.
So each nail would have individual tool marks on it, which could be used for comparison purposes.
Nails from the Other Side Lounge prove an exact match to those recovered at Sandy Springs. No sooner has this connection been made when it's confirmed by an extraordinary source in the form of chilling, hate-filled letters received by local media.
The letter writer took credit for the gay bar and abortion clinics in Atlanta.
The letter's basically more strongly anti-gay, anti-abortion rhetoric.
Abortion is the vomitorium of modernity, and the abortionist is the attendant who helps the bloated partiers disgorge themselves so they can return to the rotten feast of materialism.
The letters do some interesting things. They claim credit in the name of the Army of God. The Army of God is a term that is, going back to 1982, has been used sporadically by anti-abortion bombers and arsonists in making claims of credit.
Listen to the words of the Lord, my friends.
The Army of God is a mysterious group of Christian militants who believe in a literal interpretation of the Bible, hold God's law above man's, and proclaim abortion, homosexuality, and race mixing to be unpardonable sins punishable by death.
The attack therefore serves as a warning. Anyone in or around facilities that murder children may become victims of retribution.
The letters include a sign-off code, 4/1993.
4/1993, the date that Waco burned. The same thing that motivated Timothy McVeigh. So from that, we're seeing this strong anti-government bias.
The second device was aimed at the agents of the so-called federal government. We declare and will wage total war, death to the New World Order.
Investigators return to the question of whether the same bomber was responsible for the carnage at the Olympics.
We know we have two related bombings. We don't see anything that directly takes us back to Centennial Park, nor do the letters claiming credit make any reference to Centennial Park.
But their continued analysis of steel plate debris from the bombings finally settles the matter.
We had compared the steel plates in the abortion clinic bombing with the Olympic Park bombing and determined they came from the same batch of steel. And we actually were able to locate what steel mill produced it. He did not take credit for the Olympic Park bombing. However, we could link him forensically through the steel plate.
The task force now knows all 3 bombings are connected and that they've been carried out by a Christian fanatic hell-bent on spreading a gospel of hatred and death.
We were prayerful for a break that would help us identify someone, because we're coming to the point where we understood the forensics quite well. But without a suspect, that left the suspect free to act again.
Authorities fear the bomber's spree is escalating. They are right. But what they don't know is that he's taking his show on the road. A Christian terrorist organization, the Army of God, has claimed responsibility for bombs that have rocked Atlanta.
And the sinner's blood will flow like rivers in the street.
But law enforcement is still no closer to finding and stopping whoever is planting these devices.
We had no idea who did it, but we had a bombing case with no suspect.
January 29th, 1998. The New Woman Healthcare Clinic in Birmingham, Alabama, is one of the few facilities providing abortions in the Deep South. Someone considers it one too many. Among the first personnel to arrive this morning is Robert Sanderson, a Birmingham police officer moonlighting as security at the clinic. He is soon joined by Emily Lyons, a senior nurse. Sanderson spies something unusual in a flower bed. Lyons follows as he checks it out.
He finds something on the ground and he's down investigating it.
They're unaware the bomber has them right where he wants them. The combination of shrapnel and the blast concussion kills Officer Sanderson instantly. Nurse Lyons clings to life, her body riddled with nails. But this time, the bomber doesn't go unnoticed.
Someone saw a suspicious character. He believes that this person must have had something to do with that explosion. And so he undertakes to follow him, writes down his license number, and then call 911 to see if he can get some police presence to apprehend or stop this person.
Eventually, the witness loses the suspect in traffic. But authorities have already run his license plate number, and before long, they get a hit.
Registered to Eric Robert Rudolph in North Carolina.
Cops now have a suspect.
The U.S. Attorney in Birmingham released the information that he's wanted as a material witness. The local sheriff, through his contacts, gets the trailer that he's living in located.
Eric Rudolph, this is ATF and FBI. Open up!
Special Agent Jim Cavanaugh leads the charge. But they just miss their man.
It was within hours, you know. It wasn't the hot cup of coffee steaming on the counter, but it was clear that he'd left in haste and probably had seen on television that he were looking for him. We got search warrants for Rudolph's trailer. A team of police, FBI, ATF, forensic experts, laboratory personnel, bomb technicians, bomb sniffing dogs. We were able to find trace amounts of dynamite in the trailer.
Though nothing suggests Rudolph actually built his bombs here, the place is full of incriminating evidence, including hate-filled writings identical to the Army of God letters. Police also find Rudolph's disguise from the Birmingham bombing.
There was some residue of dynamite on the wig.
And that's not all.
A half a dozen or so of these little nails of the same size and type that was used in Sandy Springs bomb.
We have a made case. No one is going to escape the web of forensic and circumstantial evidence that's been built and is building against this person.
Now, all police have to do is get Rudolph in custody. But that won't be easy. His truck is found abandoned on the North Carolina-Georgia state line. Traces of explosive powder are found on the steering wheel. On May 5th, 1998, Eric Rudolph is placed on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. As they search for their fugitive, authorities also conduct extensive research on him. His story is anything but reassuring.
Lord, may you bless the Rudolph family.
Rudolph was a young boy when his father died of cancer.
They've given their lives to you, O Lord.
His family blamed the government for not providing proper medication.
They know no fear of earthly danger.
Rudolph's mother moved Eric and brother Daniel to the Ozark Mountains, where they became radicalized in a white supremacist compound.
See that your almighty justice is carried out. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen.
They took their convictions with them when they moved on to North Carolina.
United, brother.
This is an excessive Christian kind of philosophy. You know, I'm one of the chosen, you're not, you're abominations, you know. And I really hate the government that protects you from what I see as God's justice being visited upon you.
No one believes more fervently than Eric Rudolph. And starting on July 27, 1996, he set out to teach his beliefs to the world.
He was intelligent, he had prior military experience, he was a planner, and he was a loner.
Rudolph I would describe as an equal opportunity hater. I think that he really hated everybody, and he certainly went after everybody.
Authorities learned through interviews with Rudolph associates that he is a hardcore, highly trained survivalist. They are told he's fled into the vast Nantahala National Forest of North Carolina. Their search gets no assistance from Rudolph's family.
My son is innocent.
That your son is responsible for these 4 bombings.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, come on.
My brother is a righteous man.
I know he's probably
He's a righteous man, and you ain't never gonna find him.
Investigators gear up to hunt down the most wanted man in America.
Now you're seeing all these tactical teams going up into the mountains, police cars, encampments, searching the woods, roadblocks. We're after the fugitive. We have the warrant in hand now. We want Eric Rudolph.
But their fugitive is staying one step ahead. The Bomber Task Force has zeroed in on Eric Rudolph as their #1 suspect and offered a $1 million reward for his capture. It's believed Rudolph has slipped into the massive Nantahala National Forest near his North Carolina home. But in a 500,000-acre park, searchers know he could be anywhere.
It's a real rugged, isolated area. It's 500,000 acres of pure wilderness, straight up and down, and just horrible country if you're trying to find somebody that's hiding from you.
And as park ranger Pat Patton learns, it's territory where Rudolph feels right at home.
He was a hunter. He spent a lot of time outdoors. He went into the military, spent 18 months in the U.S. Army. He acquired skills or escape and evasion. It prepared him for the eventuality that one day he would be caught and he would flee to the national forest to escape. He had lived his life, his adult life, for this moment.
Law enforcement combs the park for the suspect.
We began an organized, systematic approach to searching for him.
We're looking for the #1 fugitive in the United States.
But after weeks on the hunt, the trail goes cold.
Information would come in that would make you feel like you were within a day of making a capture. And then at other times, information had come in that you've been far behind.
Then, on July 9th, 1998, Pat Patton finds an abandoned vehicle on the western edge of the park. It belongs to a man named George Nordman. 3 days earlier, Nordman had met up with old associate Eric Rudolph, who on this occasion was anything but friendly.
Hey, George. You can't go where I'm going, man. Give me the keys. Give me these damn keys, man.
The upset victim reported his truck stolen.
Roger, Command. I've found the truck. Northwest.
Now that it's been pinpointed, searchers know Rudolph is close.
Looks like we know where to start.
Canine units are brought in. They pick up his scent, and the manhunt goes into overdrive.
We come back into the mountains of North Carolina like the Normandy invasion. Swarms of officers, helicopters, agents on every corner. We're back, and we're going to catch him this time.
But their determination is matched by Rudolph's.
From any perch he had in the woods, he's had to see the law enforcement activity ramp up. I mean, we're flying around in helicopters, every street's covered with agents and tactical gear and markings and police and dogs, and there's no way you could miss it. And of course, this is his life. I mean, he's living to watch. He's watching to live.
I asked one of the local deputies what will happen if we find Rudolph's camp, and he looked at us and said, he'll kill every one of you.
Despite intense efforts, authorities cannot apprehend their fugitive. The search doggedly continues on for 5 years. To some, Rudolph is a hero. 2 country music songs are written about him, and a local top-selling t-shirt reads, "Run, Rudolph, run." It becomes clear to authorities that he is being assisted in his hiding by those who share his fanatical views.
People were helping him and aiding him in some way.
Now, you had no trouble finding the place? Nobody's was like back my hand, man.
It's believed the suspect meets his supporters at prearranged locations deep in the woods.
Who's hungry? Starving.
But nothing more exemplifies the fervent devotion to Eric Rudolph than the actions of his own brother.
He went to his shop, set up a video camera, takes off his sport coat, puts tourniquets on his arm and walks over to a power miter saw.
I'm making this video to send a message to the FBI. To demonstrate my faith in my brother and God, I will now cut my hand off.
He self-amputates his own hand about in this area here. Hand flops off. He never screams or anything. He moans a little bit, drives himself to the hospital, and tells him what he's done.
He felt that the government was bothering his family, and he wanted to protest that by sawing off his hand.
My brother is a man of God, and your continued persecution of him will prove your downfall by the Almighty.
With fanatical support like that, authorities wonder, how will they ever catch their bomber? Federal, state, and local authorities have been hunting serial bomber Eric Rudolph, unsuccessfully, for 5 years.
There was every theory, you know. I mean, people were saying he was dead, others saying he was in Sweden, some were saying he was in Mexico, and, you know, every other thing in the world.
Eric Rudolph is a very intelligent man. To be able to evade law enforcement for that length of time is quite an accomplishment.
But in 2003, in the little town of Murphy that borders the Nantahala Woods, an extraordinary event transpires.
Murphy police officer who'd been working for just a few months was on normal routine patrol.
The officer hears noise coming from a dumpster and investigates.
Hey, get out of there. What do you think you're doing?
I'll just get something to eat.
Come on out. Get up against there. What's your name?
Wilson?
But the officer knows he's seen this face before.
Hey.
My deputy looked at him and he said, you know, he looks like Eric Rudolph.
Get up against there. Get it. I know exactly who you are.
He brought him into the detention center.
Come on with me, son.
We called the FBI, and they had their fingerprint division, and expert was already at his office, and we faxed him a copy of the fingerprints that we'd taken. Then about 15 or 20 minutes later, they come back and gave us a official notification it was Eric Robert Rudolph.
Oh my, I couldn't ask for a better, present early one Saturday morning.
An alert patrol officer doing his job the way it's supposed to be done got one of America's most wanted criminals just by doing his job well. I think that's terrific.
The task force finally has the bomber. Now they want his factory.
We thought, well, there may be some place, even if it's just the back of his pickup truck, there could be some place where he's manufactured the bomb, and maybe we could find that place.
Faced with the mountain of forensic evidence against him, and with the death penalty looming, Rudolph comes clean. He confesses to all of the bombings and directs authorities to his stash of lethal supplies.
It was buried in the mountains, it was certainly all the components.
Rudolph receives multiple life sentences with no chance of parole. In prison, he releases a statement.
I have confessed to this so-called crime, but I have deprived the government of its goal of sentencing me to death. The fact that I have entered an agreement with the government is purely a tactical choice on my part, and in no way legitimizes the moral authority of the government to judge this matter or impute my guilt.
And in his confession, Rudolph describes what he wished to achieve with the bomb that started it all at the 1996 Olympic Games.
The purpose of the attack was to embarrass the Washington government in the eyes of the world for its abominable sanctioning of abortion on demand.
I think in the end he's the coward, and he wanted to save his tail, and so he planned. Well, he can get up there and say he had all these noble reasons that are just as phony as he is.
Rudolph is doing his time in the Florence Supermax Federal Prison in Colorado.
Baptized into Christ Jesus, I've been baptized.
He spends 23 hours a day in his 8x10 concrete cell.
Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber's on this same floor. Ramsey Youssef, the sheik that was involved in the first bombing of the World Trade Center in New York, they're all locked up out there. They call it Bomber's Row. It's the most depressing place in the world.
He's a cold-blooded killer. He's a bigot and a Nazi, and he's where he needs to be.